5 o'clock in Hawaii or something like that. So I'd like to call the meeting of the Agua Dulce Town Council to order for our February 11th, 2026 meeting. And at this time, if Mary is with us, if we can switch the screen to the American flag, I would like to ask Cliff Grimes to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Cliff?
Okay, Don. If you're able, please stand and place your hand over your heart. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Cliff. I appreciate that. Tonight, we are having our meeting held virtually via Zoom, and Cindy Grimes has offered to be our community volunteer and co-host tonight's meeting. So if anybody wishes to record the meeting, just make sure that you press the record icon and then request permission in the general chat or direct message Cindy to have that permission. And again, when we hold these Zoom meetings, if everybody can keep their microphone muted until they're called upon, it makes everything go a lot smoother and we don't have any outside noises coming in. So with that being said, I think we'll move right on to our agency reports. And the first report for this evening's meeting is from Deputy Martinez from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department.
Evening, Don. Hi, everybody. So for the month of January, we had 0 Part 1 crimes and 0 property crimes. And for February so far, we've also had 0 Part 1 crimes as of today and 1 property crime, which is a negative 75% drop from this time last year that we already, but small numbers, small or big changes. The main thing I want to talk about is, I'm sure you guys have seen on Facebook a little bit of all the break-ins we've been having and stuff. We had one guy was already arrested last week that was going around Briar Glen and Cedar Croft. He's still in custody. We have a new guy that we're trying to look for that broke into the church on Sierra Highway, the Crown Valley Church, but also 6 other cars. The main takeaway is, other than the church, which he actually did force entry into it, all the other cars were unlocked. So everyone, I know we all have the sense of security when we were behind gates and stuff. Gates can be easily hopped. Everyone lives on acreage. You can go around fences very easily. None of the cars were broken into. They were literally all unlocked with valuables inside. So it's a very, very easy, bar to cross there, and just make sure that we're locking our doors and our vehicles at night for sure. You got anything for me, Don?
No, that's a good report, and I hope everybody takes notice as far as locking the vehicles up. That way, otherwise they just kind of help themselves to whatever's there.
Right, and all these have been happening in Acton, just so everyone's aware. It's not Agua Dulce, but it's it's not very far off from where we're at. And the individual that hit up all the houses on Briar Glen was arrested. It was that big incident last Thursday, I want to say, with over on Agua Dulce and Soledad. We ended up containing him for about 4 hours and brought a lot of assets. But he was wanted for a lot more in Santa Clarita, so it worked out really well.
Well, it's getting closer to us, so we appreciate you keeping an eye out. And we're going to help you all we can.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Deputy Martinez?
Yes, Mary?
I saw on the report that there were some more runaways over. Is there any reason?
They're missing person reports. They don't go against our crime rates or anything like that, right? They're non-criminal reports. They're mandated to report them. that's part of the issue with that facility. It's much better than it was because we're not having the assaults there anymore. But we still have the runaways, and that does happen.
So whenever there's a runaway, they fill out a report. Is that correct?
So these are children that are running away from the homes. They have to report them. If they don't report them,
we haven't seen that in a while. And
yeah. So I mean, they do go through.
Yeah, I just
stages,
thought
but
we
like
hadn't seen it in a while, and all of a sudden there's quite a few this month.
Yeah, there was 5, if I recall correctly, last month. So it all, they have a couple new girls that aren't going with the program and keep on running away. That could be it. But I'll keep an eye on it, and if I need to, I'll go talk to them. But they're not they can't put any hands on these girls or anything. So it's not like if they want to walk away from the front door, there's nothing to stop them.
Okay. All right. But they are required to fill out a report.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Okay. Sounds good. I mean, doesn't sound good, but that sounds something we'll have to live with. Now we have the California Highway Patrol. Officer Allen is with us here tonight. Officer Allen?
Hey, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
All right, so for January, if we start with the traffic crashes, we're looking pretty light for the month overall. Start with the unincorporated, 1 property damage crash for a total of 1. That's anything that's not specified in one of the other beats that are listed on the top of the paperwork I sent you guys. Sierra Highway did have 2 injury crashes, hit and run crash, and 1 fatal crash that I covered last month. That was someone passing over between Anthony and Johnny on Sierra Highway. Ended up going in head on with another vehicle, and at least 1 person passed from there. Soledad Canyon had 1 property damage crash and 2 injury crashes for a total of 3. Sand Canyon had 1. Bouquet Canyon had 1 injury crash. And then we go down to nothing on Agua Dulce Canyon. And then the freeway was light as well. On the northbound and southbound side, they had a total of 15 crashes, 7 on the northbound side, 8 on the southbound. Mostly minor injury and property damage. Traffic citations, B217, the Sierra Highway 16, that was for January. We've been out there a lot more since the beginning of the month due to the crashes, the head-on crashes that are happening out there. I know that Officer Annette, my partner, and some other officers from our area were out there on Friday. I believe they reported to me they wrote over 30 tickets on that one day.
Wow.
Yeah. So if we keep going down, nothing on Soledad or Sand Canyon for that month. I had 1 citation on Agua Dulce Canyon. That was actually me, speeder. And then the freeway, we picked it up a little bit on the northbound side, 146 tickets, and on the southbound side, 211. And that's on the 14 freeway between Ward Road and Soledad Canyon, or Sand Canyon.
Okay. All right.
So we go to arrests for the month of January. We had a vehicle pursuit in the county area that's off the freeway. 1 DUI arrest on Soledad Canyon. No arrests or 1 DUI arrest on Sierra Highway. No arrests on Soledad or Sand Canyon. Bouquet Canyon had 1 DUI arrest and nothing on Agua Dulce Canyon. The freeway, northbound side, 2 pursuit arrests, 5 DUI arrests, child endangerment arrest, a stolen vehicle, 5 other arrests, which are range from anywhere from unlicensed drivers to suspended licenses, and 3 warrants. On the southbound side, we had another pursuit, 4 DUI arrests, 1 of those coming with the additional charges for child endangerment, 2 reckless driving arrests, 1 illegal firearm arrest, 3 others, and 3 warrant arrests. That is it for January.
Anybody have any questions for Officer Allen? Okay, thank you very much for the report. We appreciate it.
All right.
Next up, we have Los Angeles County Fire Department report from Community Service Representative Maria Gregan. Is Maria here? Yeah, she's here.
I am here. I am going to try to give you a report verbally. I have nothing to give you in writing because I have to figure this out. We changed to a new system on January 1st. I don't like it, but I don't like change. So I am trying to figure this out, and it is a completely different reporting system. So I am kind of at a standstill and don't know what I'm doing. So having said that, what I think I can tell you the medical calls. We had 41 medical calls in January. That much I know. We had all the categories are different. They just really they're messing with my mind here. They're all of our categories are completely different. So there was 2 vehicle fires. It's actually showing up as 3, but in looking at it, one of them was a duplicate call. So 2 vehicle fires, and then we had a power line down on Escondido Canyon, pole to pole. So we had that one, and then we had 1 public service call, so now it's called public service. And that was, the narrative on that one is the occupants had reported, this was on North Chamizo Calle. The occupants reported hearing a loud pop followed by interior lights dimming. They did not turn the breakers off, so when the firefighters got there, the breakers were still on, but the guest house on the property had no power. The primary residence did retain the power. The firefighters did use their thermal imagers, and they looked at the attic and the interior. There were no heat signatures. They also did some monitoring, and there was no gas present. So as a precaution, they did shut off the gas supply to the water heater. And they said their findings were consistent with a service side or feeder electrical failure. And they advised the occupants of the house to contact a licensed electrician. And then to call 911 if conditions worsened. So that was that. And then the only other call that we had, which I get, it's listed as no emergency. That's another new category. Person got stuck in the mud and they called the fire department for help. So the fire department got there and said, you need to call a tow truck. So we couldn't help them. And that was it. So I'm trying to figure out how many non-medical calls there were, and once I eliminate the duplicates, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 6 that were non-medical, so that's going to give you a total of 47 calls for the month.
Okay.
And I think that's pretty accurate. I'm still trying to figure this out. I don't know what your reports are going to look like from here on out. I still got to figure that out.
Yeah. Once we get the old report figured out, then it's time for them to change to a new report. Kind of
exactly.
Like iPhone, where it updates in the middle of the night, and then all of a sudden you can't figure it out till your grandchild comes around. So
what's funny is they're trying to streamline everything, and by streamlining everything, they created. It's like, how is this streamlining when we used to have like 5 categories or 6 categories? We had fire, medical, service, hazardous condition, and good intent. We had 5 categories. And now there's like 25.
Yeah. I think it was too simple. It was too simple. So anyway.
They're keeping me on my toes.
Maria, we appreciate you coming to our meeting, and I hope you figure that thing figured out, or hopefully they go back to what used to work just fine.
No, they're not going to go back, so I got to figure this out. It's actually mandated on a federal level, so we had to come into compliance with the new system.
Yeah, there's an old saying that kind of goes that if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Or if we can't fix it, it ain't broken. So anyway, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, it's a learning curve. Once I get the hang of it, I should be good to go.
Good enough. All right, sounds good. We appreciate you taking the effort to be with us here tonight.
Yeah, and thank you, Mary, for posting for a call for victims next Tuesday for our final CERT class. If anybody listening here would like to join us on Tuesday evening, the 17th, from 6 to probably about 8:15, 8:30. We are going to be graduating another CERT class at the Agua Dulce Women's Club. I could use some victims if anybody is available and wants to come by and be a victim for our students as they do their search and rescue and triage and do treatments for medical injuries and all that good stuff. We'd love to have you come by and be a victim for us. 6 o'clock at the Women's Club next Tuesday.
Thank you very much. Look forward to seeing that happen.
Thanks.
Next up, we have the library report from the Acton Agua Dulce Library from the librarian, Jim Wall. If you're here with us here, Jim's here. Good.
Good evening. How are you guys?
Good. Great.
Good. So just some upcoming programming here at the library. Tomorrow afternoon at 4:30, we're having a kids program, Decorate Your Own Valentine's Box. The kids are going to come in, they'll learn about Valentine's Day, and they'll create a box to sort either give away to someone or keep for themselves. But so we'll have that tomorrow. Another one, the program I've got coming up is going to be Wednesday, February 25th at 7 o'clock. It's probably going to be the last telescope program of the season. We're going to be checking out the moon and learning about that and viewing it through the library's telescope that we've got. And then the last program I'll mention, it's going to be on Wednesday, March 11th. It's going to be it's a seed program for Cesar Chavez Day. So the kids are going to come in, they're going to decorate some pots and plant seeds and learn about Cesar Chavez. One more thing, I like to make sure I get the word out about this early. Let's see here, March 14th and March 15th, that's going to be the spring book sale that the Friends of the Library host. The Sunday, the 15th, is always a good day to go. You bring a bag and you fill it for $2. You don't find a better deal on books in town on that. All the money that they raise does come here. It helps pay for the performers we get, some of the presentations, the nicer stuff, and it really helps us out. So I encourage you to come by, browse, support them. I know they'll love having you here. And then one final note, we have a holiday. We'll be closed on Monday, February 16th for President's Day. So unless you guys have questions for me, that's what I've got.
Well, let's see if any hands are up. I think we're looking clear. Yep, we're looking good. Thank you, Jim. We appreciate the report. All right. Next up, from the Department of Public Works, Josie Gutierrez is with us here this evening. Josie?
Hey, everybody. I actually don't have much to report at this time. The board adopted the traffic regulations for the always stop control at Agua Dulce Canyon Road and Davenport Road in November. So now we're just kind of, we submitted the request for funding and we're waiting for the funding to be programmed. Let me see. The study for the speeding requests on Escondido Canyon Road between Agua Dulce Canyon Road and Tyndall. Studies currently under review. I don't have a timeline when we expect that to be completed. So hopefully next month's meeting, I'll have an update on that. That's basically all I have unless somebody has questions for me.
All right. It looks like we have a question from Chris. Chris?
Hi, Josie. Just a couple of quick thank yous. One, the public works crews have been really busy on our local roads, making everything good after the rains in December and January, so appreciate that. And thank you very much for introducing me to Hugo so that we could discuss the flooding on the 14 freeway. It's much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Sounds good. If there's no other questions, we're going to go on to LA County Parks Vasquez Rocks report given tonight from the Park Superintendent, Sarah Brewer. Sarah? Don't think she's with us here tonight. So, all right, if she shows up, we'll come on back and see what she has to say. Other than that, let's move right on to the 5th District Report. Stephanie English, either Stephanie or Isabel. They're not here either. Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to the California 34th Assembly District. Assembly member Tom Lackey. Is Anna here with us tonight? Anna Zarley. Anna's not here. Okay. Going to be a quick meeting, it looks like. California 23rd Senate District, Senator Suzette Martinez Valadares. Is Tanya here tonight in support? Nope, she's not here either. But I see Mary has her hand up. Mary?
Yeah, I see that Hugo is here, and Hugo, if you wanted to introduce yourself. I actually realized that I spoke with you back when we were trying to find out who was in charge of the tunnel at Vasquez Rocks. So Chris asked that I put him on the distribution, and I see that he's here. So if you'd like to introduce yourself and say a few words, that'd be great.
Great. All right, Hugo.
All right, well, thank you. Well, it's a pleasure being with you guys here tonight. I know that this is the second invitation. The first one, I missed it. I was not able to attend. So my name is Hugo Guzman. I've been with Caltrans for quite some time, 28 years to be exact. And I am the liaison. I'm the region engineer from the Department of Maintenance. Basically, I deal with anything that comes from in the engineering side, from legal. I also work with the our external agencies like the CHP, the county, the Forest Service, Army Corps of Engineering. And so I am the police of Caltrans, except that I don't carry a gun. I go to depositions representing the state. And I was approached by Chris. We talked about the issues that you guys are facing, and also the tunnel. Mary, thank you. Yes, and yeah. So I'm just here to. I live in Santa Clarita. The area. This is the area that I represent. This is the area that I cover all the way to Acton, Palmdale, Lancaster, the valley where the 5 and the 18, Newhall, all that area. So yeah, that's what I have for tonight, and I look forward attending more meetings with you guys.
Fantastic. We appreciate that. Does anybody have any questions for Hugo while he's here? Well, great. We appreciate the report. We appreciate you taking the time to be with us here tonight, and look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you.
Okay. Good enough. We're looking clear. All right. So next up we have is Tanya. Tanya's not here, is she? Okay. All right. So we're going to go on to the U.S. government agencies, the 27th Congressional District, Mr. George Whitesides, Shannon Hurst. I think she wasn't going to be here tonight, so she sent a letter, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Mary? All right, so the letter goes, I hope you had a great Super Bowl weekend. I'm writing to let you know that due to a last-minute scheduling conflict, neither Maria nor I will be able to join tonight's Zoom. In our absence, I've attached 2 PDFs for the group, one regarding the Congressman's bill to strengthen transparency in veterans' home loan programs, and another is for this year's Congressional Art Challenge. So I think we've shared these, and I think they're actually on our website. So if they're not on our website, we can put them on our website. And so everybody who has concerns about that can go to our website and view them, unless anybody has any comments on that. So that being the case, we're going to move right on to, oh, here we go. Look at that. Pretty quick. So he was concerned about the transparency in veteran home loan programs. And so it looks like he introduced this on the 21st of last year, looks like. So anyway, there it is. If you want more information, you can hit that little gizmo right there, and it's supposed to take you to where it's supposed to be. Do we think that there might be a misprint on that date there, Mary, or was it actually, it says for immediate release, January 21st, 2025. I'm wondering if that's supposed to be.
I'm sure that's a typo.
Okay.
Should be 26.
Well, we're full of grace here tonight, so we'll accept that. And anybody who's interested in that, they can look it up. All right, so we're going to move on to LA County Water Plan. The Santa Clara River Watershed Area Steering Committee, Measure W, Watershed Coordinator, Amanda Begley. Is Amanda here with us tonight? Ooh. Nope. Or Heather Trippin. Either one of those two. Now's the time you can give us a report. If not, we're going to move on to next Santa Clara River Watershed Steering Committee meeting is going to be February 19th, which is next Thursday. And it's going to be held from 1 o'clock to 4 p.m. in Santa Clarita City Hall. And for more information, you can visit our website and pick up the link there regarding the SafeCleanWaterLA.org Watershed Santa Clara River. That's not the meeting that was canceled, was it, Mary? No. Okay. All right. So B is report back on free online training for well owners. That's me. And I was not able to attend, as I discussed with Mary during our administrative portion. I don't know why. I mean, it just said registrations are closed for this event when I tried to log in. So Mary's going to find out what's going on with that and report back probably next month, if not sooner. Mary, you got your hand up there. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah. I talked to Amanda today about a potential presentation that she would like to do next month. There's a survey that the Safe Clean Water group has put out. It doesn't take very much time, and she wants to come and talk about it. It really, if you fill it out, you put in the priorities of what is important to you with the Safe Clean Water information, water quality, firefighting, water quantity, and speak about that. And I'd like to put her on the agenda for next month.
That sounds wonderful. Does anybody have any objection to that? If not, let's do it. That's great. Love to see her. Okay. Next up, then we have Senate Bill 552, Small At-Risk Task Force Working Group for LA County Drought Resilience Plan through the County Department of Regional Planning to achieve meaningful long-term improvements in water resilience. Mary, is one of the representatives, and along with Chris. So is there anything that we need to discuss regarding that?
Yeah, there was a monthly meeting earlier in January, which I attended about 75% of, and that group is now starting to coalesce. The results of the last 12 months or so worth of discussions with water operators into a series of categories where they can decide how water systems can be helped. There was a quarterly meeting of the task force, and unfortunately I missed that because I was actually doing water stuff. I was rebuilding our well heads so that we can do the PFA, PFOS testing. So I don't have much of an update, although it does seem to be migrating now towards small water systems, which is a very low number of collections, I think 15 or less, and also private well owners. So they're now starting to diversify into an area where our constituents will have a lot more interest, and I'll try and keep everybody up to date with that as it progresses.
Now, is it 15 or less, or 15 down to 5?
I think it's 15 or less. It's a state designation of what a small water system is. There's probably 3 different categories. We at Sleepy Valley would be considered a very small water system, but there's seasonal ones, transient ones, non-transient ones. I mean, there's 6 ways to skin that cat.
Yeah. Okay, great. Look forward to working on that. Next up, we have...
and the other thing, I was at the meeting in February, and I just received a copy of the Los Angeles County Drought Resilience Plan, which is pretty much what we've been dealing with the last 2 years. They put it together in a plan, and it's I don't know how many pages, over 100 pages, I would say, and there's definitely it addresses domestic wells, which is the majority of what we have out here, and also, as Chris said, small water systems. So I'm going to do a quick review of that, and if anybody would like to have a copy of it, I'd be more than happy to send you the 100 pages.
Perfect, wonderful. Yeah, it's just a little surprising. In the past, they've gone, 4, 3, and 2 is considered a shared well. 1 is a private well. 5 to 15 is, they have a certain amount of jurisdiction on 5 to 15 connections. And in 16, I think 16 to 50, I forget exactly what the next category is, but they have in the past exempted everything from a private well to a shared well situation, and if it wasn't 5 or more connections, you were kind of left on your own, so to speak, or they left you alone, so to speak.
Well, hopefully they have, but it's the county, so I doubt it. So that's my purpose on this committee, is to deal with the domestic wells. So that's really where I'm looking at. And as you said, Don, domestic wells are no more than 4 connections. State small waters are 5 to 14, and then small water supplier is 50.
You cut out there, 15 to what?
15 to 3,000.
Okay.
Get it from the small water systems, get it from domestic owners.
Okay. All right. Well, I know that I think it was Senate Bill 552 was the concern that it was kind of vague as far as the number of connections where they're going to be concerned about. So after you go through the 100 pages, if you can either put that on a website or send it to me, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. Good. All right. With that being said, we're going to move on to, look at this. Waste management report from Quincy Little. Is Quincy with us here tonight?
Hi, Dawn, I'm here.
Oh, good. All right, we're ready for you. Okay.
Hi, so I don't really have too much to report. I do have a date for the upcoming unincorporated Free Dump Day. So that was going to be on April 4th from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Lancaster landfill.
Okay.
And I will leave my information in the chat for anybody who has had service issues or questions or anything like that. I'm here to help.
Okay, awesome. And we appreciate the help that you've extended to some of the residents here, me included. It's just wonderful. I mean, you finally have a voice and a connection, which we appreciate you taking the time to come to the meeting here. And we appreciate the service that you've afforded to our citizens.
Thank you so much, Don.
Oh, great. Next up, we don't have any presentations or discussions, but we do have some new business. RV encampment and illegal grading at 13305 Sierra Highway. Mrs. Vazky Kusian, I said that correctly. So let's talk about this being new business.
Yeah, so I think Vosky, or Goldie as she's also called, has the same issue as Catherine has, because I got a text from her about 3 o'clock saying, hey, I'm sick. And unfortunately, I have lost my voice. So I did say, look, do you want to postpone this to next month, or do you want us to deal with it this month? Because I have a lot more familiarity with this now than I did when I reached out to Mary and said, could we pop this on the agenda? And let me see if, Mary, could you let me share my screen? Because I think a picture speaks 1,000 words. Okay. All right, I think I can grab the screen. Well, my laptop's running a little slow at the moment, but let me do this one. All right, so can everybody see the picture that I've got on the screen here?
No, we've actually got, it says Chris Udall has started screen. There we go. Okay, now
There
it's
we
up.
go.
Yeah.
All right, so just watch the mouse. This street here is Sierra Highway at the western end of Sleepy Valley. This dirt road here is Oak Street. And Oak Street actually comes to this point here, and then there's when Sleepy Valley was formed, there's effectively a paper street, and but it's owned by the county, called Silver Oak Canyon, I think it is. And then this street here is Spring Street, and it turns round to become Reservoir Avenue. And back in, I think it was the 24th, our local Facebook page ended up with this picture on it, saying, hey, does anybody know what's going on here? These pictures were actually taken. There's a few parcels of land. If you remember back in 2023, the county came to the, I think they addressed the council and said, look, we've been investigating some illegal grading. The property owners have actually been illegally grading on other people's property, and that these properties had been purchased years ago in lien sales for tax liens. One of the people who was looking at buying this property ended up hiking up into the Angeles forest and taking these photos, trying to figure out what was going on. And I don't know whether you can see this towards the right-hand side of this picture. I'm going to see if I can make it a bit bigger and move it around a little bit. But this is actually a stream bed here. And it goes all the way down and then hooks into the stream bed along Mint Canyon on Sierra Highway. And then separately, if I zoom out a little bit, this is a pathway that's been cut up into the hills. So as I say, I'm going to stop sharing now, but you get a sense of what's going on. So around about the 24th of January, we have a private water company down here in Sleepy Valley. All of a sudden, we started noticing we were hemorrhaging water. So we did what we normally do, and we walked around and talked to everybody with a meter and said, hey, can we just check your meter out? And all the meters were fine. We hadn't looked at 3 meters. And then by the weekend, I suddenly, put 2 and 2 together. And when we went to talk to Miss Kusayan and her husband, Greg, they basically said, hey, it could be the people down in the valley. And suddenly 2 and 2 went together, and we realized that there's this growing RV encampment down in the valley on this private property. The Kusayans were very upset because this person has been grading into their hillside. So they live on Reservoir, but they own a piece of property that goes down all the way to Silver Oak Street. And he's cut into their hillside, which obviously when we have this much rain could result in landslides and goodness knows what else. And it's messed up the drainage for some of their property. So fast forward a few days, and I was doing some maintenance work, and I went up to our well tank where we keep the tools, and the US Forestry Service was parked outside. So I chatted to the guy from the US Forestry Service, and he said, look, I've come along. He was a hot shot doing some work. So I've come along basically to figure out what's going on with the grading and whether this guy's fenced off and put any grading on USDA, USFS property. So all of a sudden, this thing gathered quite a lot of momentum. And then roundabout, so we spoke with them on the 30th with Mr. and Mrs. Kasayan. Then we actually hiked in to take a look because this meter at this property was one of the ones that we hadn't been able to find. And by this time, we'd lost about 50 or 60,000 gallons of water, which is enough to, create a small lake. So we couldn't see it within the community. So we went up through the forest to look down. We can't get onto the property because he's put a gate across Oak Street, which is a county-owned road. There was, I think, a knock switch on it for the fire department to get in there, and he took that off. So the county can't actually get in. I think they used that a couple of years ago when they went in to figure out what was going on with the grading. So he's basically blocked it all up for them. And when we got to Friday last week, the 6th of February, we figured out that the leak was actually coming from his home. And it was a toilet flapper valve that was just fully open and basically had put 20-odd thousand of gallons of water into his septic system. So we were able to work with him to get that fixed. But when we were we have a pipe that runs down from Reservoir down to that, along his property line. And we'd repaired it a few years ago, and we noticed there was a very, very green patch of grass around the repair. So we thought, well, maybe our repairer does not work properly. So we made a small excavation, and we found a 1.5-inch pipe going from our water main straight down the hill to that RV encampment. So we have a sub-meter at the top of that line, and there's only 2 properties connected to it. So we went back to our records from 2020 when we were last able to read the meter before he fenced it off. And we calculated that about 1 million gallons of water have gone down that line between 2020 and between November 2020 when we last read it and February of 2026. So we haven't addressed this water theft issue yet, but the line was actually buried, and there's a valve in that line. This was all stuff that we just uncovered, as I say, about 3 or 4 days ago. So it's a problem for the community. Obviously, the Kusayans are concerned about the grading that's going on. I actually did, when I'd interacted with the gentleman from LA County code enforcement in the Santa Clarita office a couple of years ago over this potential purchase of the property, I sent him these pictures from social media, and I just got a reply from him. He actually copied in a couple of people, one from Public Works and one from Regional Planning, who I think are looking at this. But I would have, a number of concerns. I think I think Ms. Kusayan has reached out to Fish and Wildlife because obviously, as we know from the RTG project, if you want to go and grade up an ephemeral stream, you need a stream bed alteration permit and all sorts of stuff. If you're going to grade into, that road that I showed you there is in what's called a significant ecological area. So you can't just hop on your tractor and go up that hill and take everything out without getting various permits and biologists and goodness knows what else from the county. The Kusayans did interact with him and say, look, could you please stop? And he basically, stuck his middle finger up at them and carried on doing what he was doing anyway. So Public Works, I think, is involved. Regional planning is involved. I think public health should be involved because there's about 8 or so RVs down there. They're obviously hooked up to water. It looks like some of it's coming from us without paying for it. I mean, the value of that 1 million gallons of water at our pricing, which went into effect in 2019, is $26,000. It's a huge amount of water that we've had to provide that's gone down that line. But obviously there's grey water and black water, and I have no idea where that's going from all these RVs. And then obviously, I don't wish to be an ist, but I'm a realist, and a lot of these fires that the fire department deals with are actually coming out of encampments like this where people live in RVs and they accidentally set things on fire. And it's sitting at the bottom of a canyon. There's a gated road. The fire department couldn't get at it if they wanted to. And I think that, there's an element of fire risk here, not just to the people down there, but also to the rest of the community. If they manage to set something on fire, it's going to go straight up the hill and torch most of Sleepy Valley and the Santa Ana winds. So what I'd said to Mrs. Kusayan was, look, come along and tell us what's going on. That's my understanding of what's going on. But I think it might be worth us discussing whether we could write to Stephanie and just try and get an understanding of what the county is doing about this, because there have been other issues down at this property. There were a lot of vehicles stored on the adjacent land, if you remember, for those of you who drive up and down Sierra Highway. Those got cleared off probably about 6 to 12 months ago. There have been rave parties there, unapproved events, which obviously we're going to be talking about next week with the county. I think one of them happened a while ago, and a young adult was taken to Henry Mayo with alcohol poisoning. They had to be transported. And then every once in a while, they'll light up the neighborhood with gunfire from multiple different guns at the same time. And by the time the sheriff's department gets out there, it's all gone quiet again. So it's certainly something that's a problem, and I think it would be helpful for the Sleepy Valley community in particular to understand what the county is up to with this and whether there's a timeline for resolving some of these issues.
Yeah, as far as in the past, I know whenever there's been an issue, it's always been turned over to zoning enforcement, which is, I think, Oscar Gomez, and I think Amir is the one that handles this area out here. Our daughter and son-in-law had an issue at the top of Sierra Highway, and both, with someone. This was actually an owner of the property that moved in his RV, but it was illegal. You can't to live in it without a permit and whatnot. Amir was successful. It took about a year or so, but he was successful in getting that particular person to leave that property. Then about a year ago, they had the same situation on another adjacent piece of property where a person started grading and thought, this was like the Wild West, and as long as it was his property, he could do whatever he wanted, which a lot of people have that attitude. But somehow zoning enforcement has a way of somehow getting them to leave the property. So you mentioned that zoning enforcement has already been notified of what's going on out there. Is that correct?
Yes, so if you go back to 2023, it was a gentleman called Ken Ferguson out of the local Santa Clarita office. He now works out of Calabasas, as I understand it. And he had, I think there's another lady now in Santa Clarita, Avanian. I don't know what her first name is, but Miss Avanian, I think, is now the enforcement person there. But my concern is that, you know, there's a few moving parts here, and I don't necessarily. I suspect that Public Works is looking at it more from the point of view that the guys put a gate across a road that they own.
Yeah, I think I see Orlando's hand up. Maybe he wants to jump into this. Orlando?
Yeah, so typically what happens is regional planning, zoning go out there, they'll do like an inspection, they'll do the citation, they'll give them 30, 60, 90 days to correct it depending on what the violations are. If they don't, then they get like an inspection warrant, and then the DA's office gets involved, that's the teeth, and they go back and do the whole abatement of the property. So that's, and then the DA's office, the DA investigators can put their law enforcement, they can put like cases on them, and we go help them out with that. What's the address again on this one?
It's 13305 Sierra. It's actually in Santa Clarita's patch.
Oh yeah, okay. I will reach out to one of the J teams over in Santa Clarita. I know their sergeant, and see if they could maybe reach out to you or something as far as like helping you out, because they're J teams or zone deputies or whatever. They have different zones for different stuff, and they don't go to calls. They just do quality of life stuff. I don't know if it's exclusive to the city though, because that's going to be unincorporated, so that might be a city item. But I'll see if they can help out with that, because they're usually the ones that do like any specialized stuff.
Yeah. So I suppose back to my question, would we be able to write a letter to Stephanie and just ask what's being done about these different issues?
We've contacted her before in regards to this, and the response that we've gotten from them is that's what they have zoning enforcement, that particular agency, to handle those type of problems. I noticed Josie is still here. If Josie, maybe Josie, can you?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay. So do you think that a letter to Stephanie English is going to put more heat on this particular situation, or what is the price? Is it just I know our daughter had to wait about 2 years before finding there was some action. But what is are you aware of this particular property?
I am not aware, but I did take notes, and I will be reaching out to Lucine. I think that's the one that Chris had mentioned, because Ken had left already. But like Deputy Martinez had mentioned, unfortunately, the timeline takes a long time as far as enforcement and things like that. Because typically what they try to work with the residents, they give the 30-day notice, informal, and then a formal notice, and it just takes some time. But I will reach out to Lucine, find out what's going on and report. But as far as sending a letter to Stephanie, supervisor's office, that always helps, obviously. But what's going to happen is basically she's just going to reach out to Public Works, regional planning, and whoever else is involved and find out what's going on. That's but it wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, I would say thank you, Josie. As a water company, we kind of have a different set of rights to the county. Stealing water is actually a felony. Stealing a lot of water, as in $26,000 worth of it, is a real felony. And we have the right, whether he likes it or not, to enter onto his property and remove his meter. And then he can figure out what sparklets bottle he wants to get a shower with in the morning, because he'll never go back again. So we are taking advice from our lawyers over in Pasadena about what to do about this. But it's clearly a problem that has, persisted since 2023 when this was first investigated by the county. The guy obviously did whatever he needed to do and then just carried on back down the path when he thought nobody was looking again. So hopefully we can give the people that are dealing with the grading on their property and the other problems that are being caused some comfort.
So, the only issue that I have from the town council is that I don't know that we're aware of this particular property that we're describing. We see the pictures and whatnot, and I agree, but if zoning enforcement says, oh yeah, everybody's allowed to do that right now, then it's something that sparks concern community-wide. Okay, so as far as, have you drafted a letter yet, or have you come up with, at this point, I think the best thing would be to come up with something that we're going to say in the letter that's going to be general, but I don't know if that's going to bring any heat on this particular property.
Recording stopped.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I think we lost me.
I think we've lost Mary as well.
We probably did.
We should probably just wait till they come back.
See if it reboots.
We've lost. Oh, here comes Mary.
Okay, bye.
Recording in progress.
You're back. We didn't say anything while you were gone.
Okay, we waited for you, Mary.
I know, I've got something crazy going on with my connection here. It's been kind of crazy all night.
Yeah.
So, fill me in where you're at.
Yeah, so we were just saying that, should we draft a letter, circulate it to the council on a generalized way, and just to ask for an update on what they understand, because obviously there was a zoning enforcement action against it. It seems that there have been 2 or 3 probably. I think the challenge that is being faced is that the parcels of land that have been graded actually belong to other people, not the person who's doing the grading. And this was the crux of the issue back in 2023 when I spoke to Mr. Ferguson when we were looking at potentially purchasing them. And that is that the person who's graded them is not the person who ends up, with the problem of fixing the work at the hands of the county. That's the person who owns the land. So, it's creating a problem which is unwarranted for the people who actually own the pieces of property that are being graded by this guy.
Okay. Well,
So this
go ahead.
kind of reminds me of the illegal trucking that was going on down in Sleepy Valley. And we started with zoning enforcement, and when you start with zoning enforcement, then bring in other agencies need to be, because I remember truck. Stephanie's office on it, because that gives it more teeth. Because Josie's turn around and give it to regional planning. I think we just need to have as many details as possible. And the question I had was, so the 305, do we know who the owner of the property is?
The one that's been graded?
Correct.
Yeah, so the APN that's been graded in principle where Silver Oak Street is, yes, we do know the property owner for that, and it's the same person that owns the property at 13305 Sierra.
Okay, so there's grading that's going, okay, the grading is at 13305, or additional grading that the people who own 13305 are doing on another location.
That's right. So if you like, it would be like your neighbor going up to your property line and grading several feet into your lot.
And do
And
we have that?
I suspect they're doing that to try and get the RVs off Silver Oak Street.
Well, is home at 13305? Or is it just land?
There is a physical property at 13.3. There's actually two. One seems to be an empty ADU. The primary residence is occupied by renters. And there's a bunch of sheds up there too that were in those photos that I saw.
See, zoning enforcement goes in, look at everything. And they're gonna start with, well, they're gonna look at the illegal grading. They're also at fitted structures. Also, you can only have one RV if there is a home on that property. You can have one, but they, it looks like they've got multiple. So I think that's where we need to start and go from there. But we're gonna have to be really, the more details we can give to zoning enforcement, the better off we are, because then they don't have to kind of scratch their heads and say, I'm not really sure what this is all about.
Yeah, I would say that I can draft up something to circulate to everyone.
Okay.
And we want to keep it, the issue is, I've probably got 5 neighbors around my house that are doing things that really aren't within code and really aren't legal. But it's something I want to, however this letter gets drafted, I don't want to open the door to where every situation gets brought to the town council, because all of a sudden, you know, that Agua Dulce has been kind of the Wild West for a long, long time. And I think in this situation, go ahead, Mary.
I kind of agree with Don. This is kind of a neighbor issue. Oh, you've got, it goes into a completely different category with the theft of water. But I don't want to be pulled in to anytime anybody's got an issue with grading that their neighbor does, because we'll never get out of it.
Yeah, and so that's my only request is whatever letter drafted, whatever format or whatever, we make it to where we don't open the door to where every meeting is nothing but trying to solve neighborhood disputes. I understand this, we got a real mess going on here, and that's why I'm surprised that zoning enforcement hasn't stepped up, because normally they take the lead on it and they have the most clout, I guess, if you're, you know, and once the process is started, it takes a long time, but it seems that they do end up with getting results. So that's my only concern. You know, if we can draft a letter in such a way, I have no problem with addressing this issue, but I just want to stay in the clear to where there's many issues throughout Agua Dulce that I think you understand where I'm coming from, Mary.
Yeah, so I think we can do it in a way that won't open Pandora's box.
Okay.
Okay.
I think that if you can bring it next meeting, we can vote on it and look at it and see if it's something that we want to agree to, and hopefully they can clear it up.
Sure. In the meantime, we'll we'll pursue our water company related activities independently. We're not looking for the council's help for that. We're just going to take a sledgehammer and play some whack-a-mole.
Yeah, sledgehammer and a pipe wrench. Usually when you cut off people's water, they seem to find some other place to go that does have water. That's one thing I've found, is that water is pretty important. All right. So we look forward to hearing back next meeting on that. We have, is Chris with us here tonight? With the Edison? Chris?
No, Chris isn't with us. I did get an email from Chris, and he said he couldn't make it to the meeting tonight, but he would make it to the March meeting. But I'll be much more productive if you give me a list of specific things that you want me to go over. So that's why I had kind of put together this quick little list. But I'm more than happy to give him additional issues as up with them. So I'll write them down.
No, I think that you've covered quite a bit there. And I think the big issue is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we were told that by them strengthening the grid would lead to less areas being shut down. And the comment, I believe, was made that they even had the ability to shut off certain streets or certain little sections. And it seems like when we've had these PSPSs in the past, it's from Acton to Sand Canyon. You know, I mean, instead of it being a select little area, it's a large area. And I think that, to me personally, that seems to be an issue where instead of being a select little community that's shut down, it's the entire, 20,000 acres.
Right. I remember back when this was first presented to us, when PSPS first came on the radar. They said they could isolate non-properties if that's all that need to be isolated. I don't see that happening. I see multiple circuits in one fell swoop just getting shut off. So I think I can relate that to them, that circuits shut off as opposed to section shut off.
Yeah. And I think if he comes prepared to field questions, I don't know that we're going to get any answers that night, but I think the issues that we have, why we want him to attend at all, is so that we can have the answers as to why is this occurring, when we were told that it wasn't by them, I don't want to say inconvenient, but by them spending 3 years hardening the system, seemed to have no results, as to the areas that they've turned off. So does anybody else have any other concerns as far as Edison? I mean, are we pretty much all on the same page there? Where it seems like instead of just turning off Darling Road, it's from Boiling Point all the way to the bottom of Davenport. And that's, I think that's the primary concern.
What about notifications? We've had some issues, at least I've had issues with notifications, that they're not timely and then they're incorrect. They'll say, we turn off your power, and the power went off an hour ago.
Yeah, exactly. And the same thing about, how do you get updates on their website, if you still have internet, you know, they're 3 to 4 hours behind. I mean, usually I get an alert on my phone, you know, obviously when, you know, I get the alert that it may be turned off in the next 3 days, you know, which doesn't really tell you a whole lot. And then an update is in the next 4 hours. And then the next update is, oh, now my power's off. And then they're working on reconnecting the power once it's safe. But then it's, you know, 8 or 10 hours after that point. I think in your situation, Mary, it's like days. I mean, I haven't kept track because I get so frustrated, you know. But I think basically we want to share our frustration with Edison and find out why, when we were told if we went through the hardening of the system, it seemed to have not created any benefit to the community.
Yeah, I think questions around the hardening of the communication system too, Don, to your earlier statement, because the texting doesn't seem to always work either. It's not just the internet notifications, it's the texting that are wildly off or out of date.
Okay. All right. So is that good enough, Mary?
Yeah, I will forward him this list and look forward to having a lively discussion in March.
That sounds good to me. All right, so we're going to move on to RTG Investments, the Ogden Residential Project. And I don't know if we have anything new to bring up, but Chris?
So there was a couple of things that I picked up from the disclosures from the State Water Board that I got recently. The project has been pretty quiet. There hasn't been much work going on since probably October. And as best as I can tell from the information that I've been given, a permit that RTG had acquired at some point had expired sometime in September. And I suspect it's a State Water Board permit, and it's probably related to grading the ephemeral streams on the first phase of the project. I think back in 2020 or 21, when they got the permit, they had probably estimated that they'd need it for 2 or 3 years, and then everything would be done and all the pads would be in. Obviously, that's far from what's happened. I also think that when you look at what the State Water Board has done and basically going in there and saying, hey, in late 2023, you should be doing these stormwater runoff provisions, and then going back in 2024 and saying, hey, you didn't do what we asked you to do, you need to do it again, and they didn't do it, and then going back in 2025 or late 24 and giving them the $300 and something thousand settlement agreement. And I think going back in May of last year and telling them, you still haven't done this. I suspect that they have a lot of work to do with the State Water Board to get that permit reinstated or another one in its place. So I suspect that's why the site is shut down. I mean, if you compare and contrast, you know, the speed at which work is going on down at Bouquet Canyon by David Way, where they've more or less flattened all the way to Soledad Canyon, it seems. You know, this project in Agua Dulce is a joke, pure and simple. So I think the lack of work on the site is more due to an absence of a permit and somebody other than LA County actually having the sword of Damocles hanging over them, who isn't necessarily prepared to turn the other way and let them carry on doing what they're doing in the same way that some of the other issues that we've seen have been conducted.
Good. All right. As I recall, any new permits that were granted, they were going to notify us of those permits. Was that when I believe when we met down at Stephanie English's office with Art Vandevers and the person from County Council, I believe it was discussed that any new permits we would be made aware of. Is that the way you interpreted that meeting, Chris?
Yeah, well, yes and no. So I think that LA County discovered that those bonds weren't valid in late 2024 or early 2025 when they were trying to adopt the water main, and there was work outstanding that needed to be done, and they said, why don't we just get the bonds done? And I think that's, at that point there, it all fell apart. The permits that Vandervis were talking to were fine grading permits and also building permits, construction permits, drainage, all the good stuff that goes into a subdivision. Clearly, they haven't even got halfway through, rough grading yet after 3 years trying at it. So they haven't really done anything that Vandervis said they were going to do. But the permit I think they need is from the water board. And I think in that meeting, Vandervis made it very clear that these agencies don't work in unison, they all work independently of each other. The question I have is that when we approached the state water board in early 2025 or late 2024 about this whole $300,000 settlement, there'd been a series of discussions between the legal counsel for the water board and representatives of RTG. And the legal counsel for the water board opined that he was in the process of producing the documents that they would then go and file and use to sue them. And that has gone in somebody's bottom drawer somewhere, because obviously we're 12 months later, the problem's still out there, nothing's happened with it. And I do feel that this would benefit from a good Doge.
Okay. All right. So at this point, we're kind of wait and see. Is that kind of the way you take it?
Yeah, I think I'll probably hit the state water board up with a couple of very specific public records requests related to these permits, so that I can get a sense of what stage they're in and what's missing. And, presumably once they get the permits renewed or reinstated, then they'll be off to the races, moving dirt from A to B and back to A again.
All right. Sounds good. Do we have any update from the Agua Dulce neighbors group that we know of?
None that I know of.
Okay. All right. So that brings us over to the president's report, which in general, our 2026 meeting format is as we are tonight with the doing the Zoom meeting virtually. We're going to continue having virtual meetings January, February, March, and May and June, July, October. The meetings will be at the Agua Dulce Women's Club, which everybody knows where that's at. Will be in April and September. So our next meeting will be virtual, and then the meeting after that will be in person. So I think it's working out real well, participation-wise. Having a Zoom meeting versus having an in-person meeting. Just anybody have any objections to that out there? I think we're all in agreement on that. So we'll continue to do that until we hear something different. Next up, we have incoming correspondence for action. We have none, but that brings us up to the public hearing and community meetings workshop. We have notice of preparation of draft program, environmental impact report, and public scoping meeting for LA County events ordinance. Unfortunately, it was held tonight, the same time our meeting is being held. And so, thank you, Mary, for reaching out to see if we couldn't have an additional meeting. And what's the latest on that?
Well, they could put it all together pretty simply to add another meeting, but we haven't gotten any information about it. So I reached out again today, and she said, get it. Or I meeting, I will for that.
We're hearing about every other word, but I get the gist of it. She, the letter that she sent out it sounded like she already had her hands full with a meeting that was going to be held today, but she was going to send out a link and an invitation for the meeting that is supposed to be held next Wednesday, February 18th. And so that's kind of where we're at, right, Mary?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So we will wait to hear, but as of right now, Wednesday, February 18th, will be the next meeting, and it will be held, I believe the time was 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. So we look forward to finding out more about that, or if that can't happen, if there's going to be any other time that's needed. Next up, we have notice of public hearing, Regional Planning Commission amendments to Title 21 and Title 22 of the LA County Code to strengthen standards for development located within the very high fire hazard severity zones and hillside management areas to reduce risk to life and property from wildfires. That is going to be held March 25th, 9 a.m. at the Hall of Records, which is downtown Los Angeles. Or if you want to attend it virtually, the link is on our website. If you look at our agenda for tonight, the link is there. It's March 25th, which is about a month and a half away. Okay. Upcoming correspondence for notice, legal education training for social equity cannabis entrepreneurs online is 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. February 4th, which is already passed, is understanding basic contracts. February 18th, which is next Wednesday, is commercial leasing agreements. And then March 4th is choosing a business structure. So the March 18th, protecting your brand and intellectual property. And if you want to register, you can go on our agenda and click on the link there to register for any of those meetings. Regional planning's plans filed. New family, single family residence is on APN. The number is there. On Anthony Road, they're going to do a remodel. On Darling Road, they're looking for a certificate of compliance. Preliminary parcel map of lot merger at another parcel. And on Country Breeze Lane, proposed to subdivide a 25-acre parcel into 4 legal lots. Lot 4 currently has a single-family home. And one thing I did notice was that we were alerted to certificate of compliance being denied in the Sleepy Valley area, and I don't know if it's close to this property that we're dealing with, but 104 acres on, it was voided, void deficient is what they put in parenthesis, certificate of compliance. So I don't know, the status is that it's been voided, and it was APN number, the last 3 digits are 019, and I looked it up, and sure enough, it was a 104 acre lot. So I don't know what all they had made application for, but the Department of Regional Planning said, well, you can want to do that, but by county code, you're not allowed to do that. So anyway, that's all I picked up. So at this point, that brings us to the open forum section of tonight's meeting, which anybody can talk for a minute and a half that has something to say to the community that concerns the community. I see any hands up? And I don't. All right. So we're going to pass that and go right on to the high-speed rail report, which we haven't heard anything much on that lately, which brings us to the committee reports. A, this is what Lorna's been hanging around for so long. Election Committee Chair, Lorna Leslie. Lorna, this is your moment.
Hi, Dawn. Thank you. Yes, I've been waiting patiently. And,
Yes.
but I've been enjoying all of the updates. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, I don't really have any updates. I did want to mention one thing to maybe put on our list we could put it on our list for next month. And I know you're aware of this, but a former council member passed, Dave Aiello. And I do think maybe we could put on the agenda for next month, having a moment of silence for him at the beginning.
We did have one last.
Did you guys do that last one? I missed it. I'm sorry. I wondered if you did, but anyhow, good. Then fantastic.
And he was not only a resident, he was a town council member for about 6 years. He had 3 2-year terms, and
exactly.
That's
why I brought it up, because he was a former town council member. So, and I'm sorry I missed that you guys did that already. But anyhow, it's not a bad thing to recognize someone like that served our area and our town so well, which brings us to the next thing that we were going to discuss, was how the council is feeling about staffing, feeling like you can operate with the members that you have, versus starting a special election campaign to try to put someone else in place. And so I wanted to just see if you've had any thoughts about that at this stage. If you have any feedback for me about whether you feel that is something we need to pursue, discuss further, or we could move on to just having it as the regular election for this year.
Anybody have any feeling or opinion for that? I mean, personally, I feel that we're doing just fine with 6, but that's just me. So what's the consensus of the group out there?
I'm okay with 6. We can wait till November.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'm comfortable.
Well, you've only been here for 3 meetings though, Nate.
Still comfortable.
Right, and he's showing up for them, which is
that's it. That's really,
right? So
okay, let's
there
talk
you go.
about it. Yeah, because in the past we've had certain members. I mean, they've been excused absences.
Yes.
They really haven't been able to contribute, and Nate's been here faithfully, and we thank him for his service. And personally, I'm thinking 6 is fine. If anybody else wants to chime in there, I would say let's go with 6 until we hear something different. And
okay.
Something different, you'll be the first to know.
Okay, fantastic. And then, my cap to that was going to be, maybe there's, and I can discuss this with you guys again next month if you want, but maybe I'll put some energy into a push to gain some attendance at the meetings, especially building up to our in-person meeting. I know we have one more virtual, then we have an in-person. So I feel like maybe this is the time to start to create a more organic place for potential council members to be cultivated by trying to see if we can use social media and some stuff like that to gain a little momentum in attendance leading up to and including the in-person meeting. So I feel like maybe I can put some energy into the energy would be better put into something like that than a special election. So I'm glad that we feel like we're all on the same page with that. So fantastic. And I'm glad that everybody's here and showing up. So thank you. If you do feel differently, if something changes in that regard, you let me know, because we can create a special election based on needs. So
Catherine just texted, or she went in the chat room and said 6 is fine with her also. So I think at this point, it looks to me like we've got a majority rule to where 6 is fine. And that being said, if something does come up where we feel that we need that 7th person, definitely we'll let you know.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, next up, we have the film report from Catherine, but she's not able to speak, so we will.
Recording stopped.
All right. So the recording is stopped, but I'm going to keep talking.
Yeah, we
Parks?
lost Mary again.
Did we lose Mary? All right, that's fine. But you can hear me, right? Mary's
back.
Okay.
Recording in progress.
So it's a good thing that we have Cindy here to be the co-host, because otherwise, I think, and I don't know how this nonsense works, but I think if we lose one connection and don't have a co-host, then the whole thing goes down and the party's over. But anyway, so Parks and Trails, if Mary has something she wants to share with us, now's the time to do it.
Okay, getting back to what I probably missed was there were 9 production shoots that Catherine told me.
Okay.
So there's that. And then Parks and Trails, there's a New Year's celebration February 15th, a Black History Month celebration and hike February 21st, and markers for June 13th, the Day of the Horse is going to be over at Vasquez Rocks, which is a showcase of horse breeds, demonstrations, kids' activities, and vendors.
Okay, great. Thank you for that report. That moves us on to the water stewardship report, which I have nothing to report other than the fact that we've had some nice rain last night. It's supposed to have a storm come in next week. But what really sparked my curiosity is, I don't know how many people have been following it, but Lake Oroville supposedly rose 6 inches or 6 feet, whatever it was. It was some huge amount by billions of gallons, they claim, that came out of nowhere. Well, I think sooner or later they're going to find out where that nowhere was. And I think Agua Dulce needs to put in their bid toward getting that where it came from nowhere to happen down here. So if anybody else finds out anything about Lake Oroville, quite frankly, I think it's just their instruments. Someone fell asleep at the switch, and next thing you know, oh, there it is. Oh boy, look at that. So, but we'll find out. But they claim it could be something where the alluvial ground underneath where the lake is sprung forth all this water because it wasn't coming from runoff or anything else. So if anybody hears anything else definite about the Oroville Lake, let us know. Okay. Next up, we have a disaster planning. Chris, do you have a report? Anything to share?
Yeah, just on your water subject, we frequently measure our well depth down here in Sleepy Valley.
Yeah.
Normally we're 14 feet below slab, and right now we're just under 11. So we've got 3 extra feet of water, which is pretty impressive.
Maybe it's got something to do with Lake Oroville.
Yeah, I dumped 2 inches of rain out of the rain gauge this morning, so that was overnight. So it's not a bad showing.
Wow. So you got 2 inches down there?
Yeah, just 2.18, 2 inches and an eighth. So
we can use it.
On to disaster planning rather than gardener's question time.
Yes.
The CERT, as Maria mentioned, is coming up to its graduation next week on Tuesday. We'll get some volunteers for that, for their graduation. And also the Antelope Valley CERT is orchestrating a CERT basic class in Acton at the community centre starting in March. So I don't know whether they will have better luck pulling in more people to that. But there's another CERT class coming up there in the middle of March.
Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the volunteers that show up for the graduation ceremony that are going to be the victims, it's all make-believe injuries that they have. Is that correct?
No, we've recently got we used some of the funding that we got from the supervisor's office to buy baseball bats, so now they have real broken arms and legs.
Okay, good. All right, I just want to make sure, so they can look forward to that.
Yes, no, it's all make believe.
Okay.
Thankfully.
And anybody can volunteer, is that correct?
Yeah, I think as long as they are over, I think if they're over 13 years old, they need a parent accompanying them, but over 18, they're fine.
Okay, good. All right, sounds good to me. And how did the participation hold up for that group?
I think there were quite a large number of registrants, something in the region of 25 originally. I think Maria is graduating about 11 or 12. Okay,
Perfect. All right, seems to be real popular. All right, so a few announcements before we leave. The Department of Animal Care and Control February promotion is for this month, the month of February. Adoption fees reduced to $14 include microchip and spay and neuter fees. Okay, household hazardous waste e-well collection as we were told earlier. First and third Saturday of each month, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. West City Ranch Road. If you need the address, you can look on our website. Community Connect, free gardening and landscaping in Agua Dulce class presented by Alderica's Nursery. That's going to be February 21st, which is on a Saturday, 10 a.m. Agua Dulce Women's Club, and your spot. Oh, you can reserve your spot by sending an email to Community Connect. Association of Rural Town Council meeting again is going to be held February 25th, which is in about 2 weeks at 7 o'clock, and it's going to be via Zoom. So our next Agua Dulce Town Council meeting is March 11th. Meeting will be virtual. So future agenda items, we've got Edison Rep Chris Perry is supposed to be here in March. And we're going to have a few other presentations in March. So at this point, it concludes our time together as long as someone wants to make a motion that we adjourn this meeting and we vote on it.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Chris, okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Nate. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. See you all next month. Have a good time. Have a good Valentine's Day. It's this Saturday.
Woohoo.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, guys.